Changes to the minimum wage would clearly affect businesses, their employers, their employees, and economy and commerce. But would it be a negative change?
And does it have an application in real life?
These different factions have a common goal in finance, but their perspective and their motivations are very, very different.
Are there other factors out there that might affect how the economy progresses, such as better worker productivity, a higher sense of value, flexibility and security? Higher wages also mean more people are willing to apply for these jobs. Having more money also gives people the freedom to go out there and spend money on luxury items, which boost the economy. So why is there so much apprehension when raising the minimum wage? Why do governments feel as though this is not something that would be able to benefit society and grow the economy at the same time? One consequence of a business might be not being able to cope with this new level of demand, and the resulting factor may be a reduction in the workforce. Another major consequence might be passing those same expenditures back onto its consumers. From this we can see that the answer is obviously not clear-cut. Since the introduction of the minimum wage in 1999, more than 30 studies have been conducted by various authorities. And although these studies have largely been inconclusive, there were certain trends that stood out. In many cases, some businesses experienced growth due to higher productivity from their staff, a decrease in staff taking days off due to better workplace morale. In addition, some businesses were able to incorporate better practices. These studies that were carried out internationally and also in the United States and the United Kingdom. All of these studies conducted failed to show that raising the minimum wage would adversely affect the economy.
The foundations of this argument are based on a fundamental relationship between supply and demand.
As demand for a product might increase, so may the cost of production to meet those demands. In order to keep these costs to a minimum, the business may have to adopt better practices and become more efficient. This is where the complication starts to creep in. Now this business has more demand, so higher profits. It also has better procedures and better processes to further reduce cost of production. Does it go on to pass these costs on, these reduction in cost, to its consumers? The answer to that is no, and they have no reason to do so. Because the value of a product, service or person is not only determined by supply and demand. And this is where it gets really tricky, because the value of a product is actually determined by how much someone is willing to pay for it. And as each person has different values, the number of factors that affect the value of a product become more and more complicated. In terms of profits, businesses tend to move in one direction, and any savings that they might make go back into boosting the business. The purpose of the minimum wage is to allow low-income earners to earn a fair wage in accordance to growth and sustainability in modern society. Now, there are certain businesses that operate below the radar of governments. Usually these parties have agreed a fair deal between themselves. Minimum wage is one of the largest groups of people on this planet. They often perform the most difficult and the most dangerous jobs for industries that society cannot live without. When coronavirus hit, it was these people on minimum wage that kept the country functioning. As the gap between the rich and the poor grows wider, it seems we should pay more attention to value some of society's most important members. In conclusion, the minimum wage is something which can be changed. It would not directly adversely affect the economy. However, it should be managed and implemented with small businesses in mind. Whether it be business or pleasure, a graph or a quote. Just because something is presented to you professionally does not make it true or accurate. Often the situation is far more complicated than a theory can suggest, and requires real-world application. Thank you very much everybody, and if you found this useful, please like, subscribe and comment.